Hi and welcome. My name is Lawrence Baker and this video is going to be about WordPress for photographers. In the first video, I said that in this video, I'll cover WordPress. In fact, I'm not going to. I did a run through. I don't have scripts. It went on for 40 minutes because image optimization took up so much time. So I'm going to be dealing with Lightroom, Photoshop and the web and deal with image optimization. It's a vast subject. And you can lose money if you don't do it properly. And I'll show you some free resources for getting your images down to a decent size, file size that is. There's a really good Chrome extension called Lighthouse. Now I'm going to load my site up, set my cookies. Lighthouse Chrome extension, what it does, it looks at your website, whatever page it is, and it gives you a score basically. So I'm not going to say anything, but just run it. And I've run it on plenty of sites. It doesn't have to be run on your own site. You can run it anywhere. It's a Chrome extension. I recommend you get it. It's called Lighthouse. So it says my performance overall there was 77. I would like it to be 100, obviously. This performance here, the first meaningful paint, it's like painting. So it's the first time you see something on screen. It's 2.1 seconds. They've given me a green for that. That's good. First CPU idle, that means the server stopped working, so to speak, serving up stuff. That's 4.4 seconds. Time to interactive is the same, 4.6 seconds. Well, actually slightly larger, sorry. That means I could touch things like the menu, etc. So it's not good, that's 4 seconds. It says properly size images here. It says you can have a saving of 192 kilobytes. It's a bit disingenuous because they're comparing it to a web format, for like a rival to JPEG called WebP, which only Chrome supports. It is very efficient. So being compared against that is not really fair. Also, there's JPEG 2000, which really is sort of dead as far as I'm concerned, but they do compare it against JPEG 2000 compression as well. But Photoshop don't do JPEG 2000 very well, in my personal opinion, so it's quite difficult to go out to JPEG 2000. So they're talking about WebP. So I take that saving of 192 kilobytes with a bit, or a pinch of salt, basically. So that's basically telling me that, you know, I need to crush down my images, and that time there's in the red. So it could be my JavaScript or whatever. With WordPress, you leave it in the hands of the developers. So I might, let's say, change something, one of the plugins to see if I can get that faster, or buy a plugin or whatever, or download a free one. So let's close that down. Let's go to Lightroom because that's what I use mainly for my photograph. The normal route to export is Command and Control Shift E or file export. Quality here, 80 is a benchmark I never go above ever, unless I'm going out to stock agencies or to print, whatever. But so 80 is absolutely fine for the screen. Never go above it for the screen. It's pointless because exponentially the size of your file goes up a hell of a lot. Also, this 0 to 100 is a bit of a red herring because in fact it's 0 to 12. Because when you go save as JPEG in Photoshop, it's 0 to 12. So it's ranges across the 0 to 100. And I'll show you what that means in a minute. And basically, if you're going out to the web, it's always sRGB no matter what. So I would obviously put out an image maybe at 50 quality and see what it looks like. If it's okay, drop down to 40 or whatever. And that's the way I would normally do it. 80 is definitely the highest I will ever go for the screen. So I used to be like that. 80 was fine. I come from web design from the 1990s where we had 2,800 kilobits dial-up modems. So you had to crush your images down. But screens weren't very good and this high pixel density screens weren't around. So your site looked okay. But I had to really crush my images down. So I forgot about all that and just carried on and outputting at 80 because I took up photography. But don't use 80 by default, try and go lower. So the normal route is you probably put out that 40 or 50, check it. If it's okay, drop down, see if that works. That would be the normal route. But I've got a plugin from someone called Jeffrey Friedel, and I'll have links in the description, which is very, very good. Library, plugin extras, launch export quality tests. What it does is it puts out 14 images, one lossless TIFF and 13 JPEGs at different quality settings. So let's just go okay. And also, actually, before I go any further, 2600 pixels is my choice for my longest edge when I'm going out to WordPress. That will cope with my screen, which is a 5K Mac, which is normally on 2560 by 1440. Although it's got 5,000 pixels on its longest edge, you will never see it like that because everything would look like a postage stamp. So 2560, that's covered by 2600. So my image will not be resized on my screen. That's really important. A lot of people don't go to 2600. They go to things like 1200, 1500 pixels on their longest edge. Never go below 1200 because images will look too small on mobile screens and Google will slap you down the search engine rankings. They definitely will. So if you want your website to be noticed by Google, make sure your images are served properly at a decent size. So let's go okay on this and let it do its work. Notice those ranges there. As I said, it's really 0 to 12. And it's got a very good web page explaining that. So I'll have links to that as well and to the plugin. Let's have a look at them. I reckon the 39 to 46 one will work okay. Do you know, it does. Simple as that. So what I'm going to do now is copy it a few times. Command C, Command or Control V a couple of times to get some copies out of it. So you would think that would be the end of it. 39 to 46, that's pretty good. The sky looks fine. 391, it's not the end of it. There's a lot of data in that file that doesn't need to be there. Why Adobe don't strip it out, I don't know. So they leave it to other people who get other plugins to strip it out. But I can get that file much smaller. Now I've got a free app which is Mac only called Image Optimizer. So what I'm going to do now, notice the size 391. I'm going to drag it into there and see what I can get out of it. I've got an 8% saving. Not bad. You can see it there, 359 compared to 391. I've actually got lossy minification on, which makes files much smaller, but may change how the images look. Without that on, I would have probably got a 2 or 3% saving. So the risk is you've got to play around the JPEG quality. I've got mine on, I think it's 80 there. Maybe I should have gone down to 75. So it's a little bit of playing around. What I'm getting at is, this is just one way of doing it. It's Mac only. So I'm going to lose that now. The other one are online tools, and there's some standalone apps as well, but some, to be totally honest with you, are not very good. So Command and Control T and go Image Optimizer with a Z. One here. Online, drag it in or choose your file. Pretty ugly site. Download his app. It's fine. It's free, but it puts a watermark on unless you pay him $29. Goodbye. The next one is this one here. Optimizilla. They could have picked a better name. Lots of adverts. They don't want any money off you. 20 files at one time. It works okay. I don't mind it. Let's go back. Tiny PNGs, quite famous actually. Does PNGs and JPEGs. Up to 20 images, like Optimizilla. It's okay. Let's go back. And there's more. I could keep going, like Kraken.io. So that's a name and a half, isn't it? So, you know, there's free resources for it. But the one I actually use is this. It's called Squoosh. And it's been developed by, I think it's Moz and Google together. So it's kind of a Google tool now. So what I would do now is make this less than full screen. Get one of those copies. That'll do. And drag it onto there. Make this bigger. So it's gone from 391 to 285. 27% smaller. There is settings in here, but I don't want to go into them in too much detail here. And that's how it's going to look. That's how it looked before. Not much difference at all. So all I've got to do is download it to my system. Make sure I'm in the right place. And then go to slider there. It's going to overwrite, but it won't overwrite. It actually puts 1 in brackets at the end. Let's have a look at it. There it is. So it's preserved the original file. So I went from 391 to 285. Let's look at it here. It's okay. It's fine. Don't forget, if you have a slider like this with very good quality images on it, not only will they slap you down the search engine rankings, someone will steal it as well. So yeah, you can see that Squoosh does a really good job. So what I do is I use Jeffrey's plugin, find the one that's acceptable, the lowest file size, then I go to Squoosh and crush it down. Now, inside of WordPress, you can get plugins that do this for you. So if you're really lazy, you just upload, let's say, that 39 to 46 quality one. They take it up to their server, crush it down for you, send it back. Also, there's services like CDN, which is Content Delivery Network. You can even have them do the compression for you and serve it with a content delivery network. And a content delivery network is servers all around the world with cache versions of your images, let's say, on your website. So someone in Beijing looks at my website and I'm on the server in London. That would take not forever. Electricity moves quite fast, but it has to go through domain name servers, gateways, and be processed. So there's network latency. So it could be, let's say, 5 or 6 seconds before my images download. So the content delivery network has servers all around the world. And they're probably piggybacking some of them on, let's say, Google Cloud or Amazon S3 or whatever, because it's very expensive to own a content delivery network. So they sell their services on. So yeah, that can be done for you as well. So if you've got a bit of money, because it will cost you probably about, roughly for the average photographer, about $10, $15 a month for the CDN and the compression. I'm trying just to get the actual CDN at the moment because, as you can see, cheaply I can crush my images down. But I do want to use the CDN because it does make things faster, even for people that are actually in your own country next to your server, so to speak, because people like Cloudflare, etc., have very powerful servers, and some of the hosting sites you're hosting with don't have very powerful servers. So it's really to your advantage to use a content delivery network. Now that I will cover in the next video when I go into WordPress in a bit more detail. All I'm going to do now though is show you Photoshop. And unfortunately, outside of using JPEG Mini, which was in Lightroom, when I go to export that there, I don't think the plugin is that good for the price, and I haven't got it in Photoshop. So that would be one way to optimize my images. But what I do in Photoshop is the normal route. I go File, Export, Export As. Don't use Save for Web. It's legacy now. It will disappear. So that keyboard shortcut is Command and Control, Alt Option, Shift W. So I've got it on 2600. That's my choice. Quality of 40. I'm never going to start with 80. Never, ever start with 80. So let's look at it at 40. Now you know that it's, in fact, it isn't 40 because this is 0 to 100 kind of in 10% increments. So let's export this. Make sure I'm there. I'm going to put PS in front of that so it doesn't get mixed up with anything else. Save it. Go here, PS, there it is. Have a look at it. It's okay. Go to Squoosh. Come back out of that one. Take it in. It was, let's have a look at it. Oh, it'll tell me what the size is anyway. Sorry about that on the left. 354. It's got it down to 310. Not bad. So if I made that full screen, you can see I've not really damaged that photograph in any way at all. So that's the Photoshop route. If anyone knows of a plugin besides JPEG Mini, please tell me, or an extension. I haven't come across one. And I don't really sort of use Photoshop for my photographs. Obviously, if I'm doing graphics and stuff like that for the web, I do. But for photographs, I mainly use Lightroom. So all you've got to remember is decide on what size you want for your longest edge. 2600 is at the outer edge, so to speak, but for my sliders, that's what I use. But you could use something much lower, but not below 1200 pixels on the longest edge. Also, JPEG 80 if you're not bothered about quality, but don't go out above JPEG 80. And get Jeffrey's plugin and read his page about JPEG compression. It's very interesting, and it's an easy read as well. So I'll have all these links down below. Now, in my next video, I will go into WordPress in much more detail and deal with the optimization plugins, the Retina plugins for high pixel density screens, and all the other things to do with images with WordPress. I'm sorry I didn't go into it in this video, but as you can see, this has gone on quite a long while. Thank you very much.